It is the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show on 860 AM WNOV and W293CX 106.5. Wherever you may be listening, however you may be listening, whether through those stations, the Simple Radio app, the TuneIn app, the website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, or anywhere in between. We are live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am your host, Joy Baird. Beside me is my wife, best friend, co-host, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
The WisconsinVegetableGardener.com is your destination year-round for now containing over 1,000 garden videos, short and long format, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and a whole lot more to help you be a better gardener. You can also send us an email at twvgradio@gmail.com at any time with your question. You can also tweet us using hashtag TWVG. If you do have a problem, a what is wrong with my fill in the blank, a photograph would be much appreciative, as we would be better to identify that problem, whether it's a garden problem, a canning problem, whatever that situation is. Let's talk about something that we can start looking towards in our garden for 2018, and that's understanding and building the microbial life in our soil. Now, before we get too scientific in this, because some people just think you plant the seed and water it and it grows, which that's a certain understanding. That's a very elementary level of understanding of a plant's growth cycle. But let's go a little deeper. What is microbial life, and why and how does it benefit our gardens and the plants that we grow in it?
Right. So microbes are basically microorganisms. As we always talk about, there's good things in your soil and there's bad things in your soil. Microbes are good for your soil. And just like nutrients and things like that in your soil.
Now, microbes are not something you're going to dig a shovelful and go, oh, there's some microbes. It's not like worms.
No, it's not like worms. They are microscopic, since they're called microorganisms, so microscopic. And it's a generic term. It refers to a wide range of microscopic life. So that would be things like fungi, algae, bacteria. And essentially what they do is they digest organic matter. They break down, they eat the things in your garden and help break it down. So
we compost. Let's take it this way. You create a compost pile. You break it down. The soil turns from food scraps into black compost. You now work that compost into your native soil or in a raised bed, whatever the case is. And there's microbes inside of that compost already. There's microbes already in the native soil, and they continue to break down that compost, which to the naked eye appears to be completely usable, but they break it down to a form in which the plant can actually pick up and use it. It's like a digestive system for your plant.
Right.
It allows the plant to pick up those nutrients that otherwise are locked in the soil, unable to be used by the plant.
Right. So here's a fun fact. Each gram of soil, which a gram of soil is about the weight of a paper clip, if you're trying to kind of figure out what a gram is.
Because we're Americans, we don't know what metric is. So
well, that would not be grams.
Oh, grams is okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so
one paperclip weight of soil.
That 1 gram of soil contains anywhere from 100,000 to 1 million different microbes, living microbes.
In one gram,
mm-hmm.
That many microbes.
Right.
Now, okay.
I think a gram is like a sugar cube. Okay. So if you remember sugar cubes, that's like a gram.
It's a good reference of how much soil how little soil there is, and how many microbes.
Yes.
And there's not just one species of microbes. There's thousands of different types of microbial life in the soil. Okay.
And so microbes move around, like not literally, but animals, water, insects, air will move the microbes around.
They can travel.
Right. By
being attached or being a carrier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But they're usually fine where they are too, but they can travel.
So basically the microbes are the life system of everything we know.
Yeah.
Plant-wise.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about how do we know if we have enough microbes, or what do we need to do in order to help the microbial life in our soil?
Well, it depends. If you think you have poor soil, so that would be like compacted soil, sandy soil, clay soil. Basically, that means that there's not enough microbes in your soil, so you can't really add microbes, but you can add compost tea, manure tea. Just kind of like when you add compost to your your garden, it invites the worms in if you add it to your...
You can add microbial bacteria.
Right.
And Plant Success is one of the sponsors, and they have a lot of those different levels of microbial items that can be added to your garden, your container, the root system of your plants.
That's the mycorrhizae.
The mycorrhizae, which feeds the microbial
Right.
life. Yeah.
So, it contains mycorrhizae.
We're talking about
bacteria.
the Plant Success products that sponsor the program. This will help the microbial life in your soil.
So what you do is you mix it with some water and then you spray it onto your soil.
And it feeds, and it's a boost. Now with the Plant Success stuff, it's in a container, and you don't want that container to get too hot because heat can kill that stuff. And essentially the food for the microbial life.
Right.
So you got to be aware of that.
There's also probiotics in your soil, which probiotics just like are good for us. I'm sure you've heard the word probiotics. It seems to be a hot word over the last few days. It's good. It's good bacteria essentially, just like as we know, like probiotics exist in fermented foods like yogurts and kombucha. Same thing for your soil. I'm not saying you should dump kombucha into your soil, but it does exist there. It's because there is somewhat of a fermentation process going on.
Now let's talk about if we don't. You can. The way to build the microbial life in your soil is to add good compost, which has the microbial life in it, and that helps with the native soil or in a container in a raised bed. But there also are beneficial aspects of using microbial life to fix soil that is not healthy. In regards to, I'm not talking about if your soil has old gasoline in it or old oil or lead in it, but what I'm talking about is the man-made chemicals. You can use microbial life to reverse that bad soil into good soil over a period of time.
Right, so basically that's called bioremediation.
Joe Lampo, host of Growing a Greener World on PBS, who was a guest on our program a couple of weeks ago, he had this problem in his raised beds.
Right. So what happened is that he took his horse manure and he put it on his raised beds, which was
composted,
right,
which plants were growing out of. But the problem that he had, and he knew.
So what had happened was that the farmer sprayed the grass, where the horses were grazing, with a broadleaf herbicide,
which that kills the broadleaf weeds and allows the grass to grow, so you have a lush pasture, so you have a lush field of strictly grasses that you can mow and bale up and feed animal feed to, so you don't have the bad weeds. That's what that herbicide does for farmers.
Okay, so then the horses ate this grass that had the herbicide on it.
Perfectly okay for the horses. Yeah,
for
the horses and animals, it doesn't affect them. What affects
that went through their digestive system, which is not bad. Then they excreted it. Then if you use fresh horse manure, you can't use fresh horse manure. You have to use manure that's basically sat around for a while. Explain that.
Aged.
Yeah, aged. Thank you, aged. And so it aged. This horse manure
it sat there for a year.
Went through the horses, excreted it, sat for a year. Then he put it on his raised beds. So this is a strong herbicide. He went on his raised beds, and a few weeks later, after he planted some things,
tomatoes, predominantly green beans, eggplants, the large leafed items, the leaves began to curl up, and the plants
peppers, beans, So, but some things did fine. Cucumbers, okra, herbs, chard beets, sweet potatoes, and watermelon did fine. And then ornamental annuals, like just, flowers or whatever, those did fine. But a lot of these other plants did not. So he was like, what's going on? And then he thought back to his process.
He knew that what had happened. He knew that he needed, that this was a problem, but he wanted to get the raised beds filled, and he just, like anybody else, we get in a hurry. He put the 30 yards of compost in the raised beds, and then this happened. So bioremediation is what he used in order to reverse this. And this is all documented on growingarenaworld.com. You can just go to your favorite search engine and type in killer compost, and it documents all of this and his journey. But basically what he did
his friends and colleagues said, pull all that out, put new compost, but obviously that's going to take time. He's got I think 30 raised beds.
30 raised beds, 30 yards.
And then money too. Obviously that's an investment. So what he did is he let the plants grow that season. Then they broke down, and he turned the soil over to expose it to the air and the sun and the wind, and then he planted cover crops. So basically, it's in the microbes, excuse me, the microorganisms are going to break down those plants and do their little composting thing to help get rid of that herbicide.
The plants that he used sucked up some of that toxicity in the soil. The microbial life came in and broke down the rotting plants. And over a period of time, I think it was a several-year process that he was able to accelerate by doing this properly. He was able to reverse that problem that he had.
Right.
So you want to know where your source of compost. And we talked about this. We had a soundbite from him on one of the first 2 or 3 episodes, the second episode of the show back in March, where he was talking about what he had to do. So you always want to know your source of compost, your source of material, where it derived from. Just because you go to a farm and get some compost because it's free on a Saturday afternoon doesn't mean it's the best stuff in the world.
And so that's basically what it is. You don't want to use manure or even hay as mulch because if you don't know what chemicals were used in that field.
If it was completely 100% God-made organic, it's fine. But we don't always know where this stuff has come from. And just because it's free doesn't mean it's great.
Exactly. So if you are using manure, which I don't know how many city people use manure, but you never know. If you know somebody that has
it's a great compost.
It is a great compost, yes. But we're just saying, but hay. So you can use straw as mulch, but the hay is what's the concern.
Yeah, because that will leach into the soil potentially.
If you're in the Milwaukee or surrounding areas, just tune your radio to 860 AM or FM 106.5. You can also find links on our Facebook pages, The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener and Home Canning. Our website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, click on the radio tab at the top of the page, then click on the Listen Live button, and you'll have immediately access to our live program. Mobile devices work very well also. Go to your app store and download for free the TuneIn app or the Simple Radio app. Then search WNOV 860, save it to your favorites, and you can have access to our radio show live wherever you're at in the world. Our radio program will also have podcast replay under the radio tab several days following the live broadcast. You can find all of these links in the show notes below. Our show airs 9 to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time every Saturday, March through the end of October. And we want to thank our sponsors because without them, this would not be anywhere possible. You can find all of their links under the radio tab on our website at thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.